We love suffering. We love suffering. We love suffering. The more pain, the better. The more pain, the better. Stab that bitch. Stab that bitch. You're listening to Getting Fae'd. We,
Lukas,
Lea,
and Meike are reading A Court of Thorns and Roses for the very first time. Today we are covering chapters 19 and 20. Get Fae'd with us! Woo! Hello guys, welcome back to a very special day. Not only has Lea finished her master's thesis, oh my god, give it up for her! Woo!
I haven't finished yet.
What? You said you would finish and then we could record another episode.
Yes, I'm almost done.
Lea is almost done with the master thesis. Give it up for Lea.
Day. Woo!
Yay! It is a day for celebration, yes, but the bigger celebration will follow because the latest correction still has to go through where, like, my spelling is checked and shit.
That's okay, it will be fine. Well, anyways, we don't care about your master's thesis. We care about the fact that this is the 10th episode of Getting Fae'd. Woo!
Suck it, average podcast that quits after 7 episodes.
We stayed strong.
Yes.
And we will stay here for you guys forever.
And ever.
As long as you listen.
As long as these books have content. But I'm happy to announce that we are not even halfway through book 1, so you're gonna be stuck with us for a very long time.
But almost. I think we're almost halfway through. We're getting there.
No, we're getting Fae'd. I think this is gonna be a very long episode because we have a lot of content to cover. A lot of shit happened in these chapters. And maybe it will also be an unhinged episode. Because I'm just editing episode 8 and it's very horny and very unhinged and I love it. And I think that was because we haven't recorded for like 3 weeks back then. But now it's been a month.
Dum, dum, dum. So are you bursting the bubble now that we are recording, of course, every 2 weeks?
We're not pre-recording. No, we're not. Of course we're not pre-recording. Why would we do this?
This is coming to you live
This
from
is a very
your
authentic
living room.
podcast.
What are you talking about? It's not August. Shut up.
It's not super hot in our little recording studio. No, it's not hot.
No, because it's Christmas. No, I think this will be out in like September.
Yeah.
Probably.
So anyways, we're sweating and we are ready to go.
Sweaty to go.
Let's fets.
Let's fets. We have a lot to discuss. A lot. These chapters are something.
Yes.
A lot is happening. We get so much lore drop, we get so much character stuff, and so much weirdness.
Oh, yeah.
But first, maybe we should recap what happened in the last episode.
Yeah.
Who wants to go?
I can try. So last time, let's see. So they fought the Naga after Feyre captured the Suriel, and then the Naga attacked, and then Tamlin came to save her, and then Feyre was very cool and confident, and then wasn't when Tamlin showed up, and that was bad. And then they had like a weird date and went skinny dipping
Yes.
in a lake made of starlight or something. Did
Normal
this
day?
happen, or was this just a weird dream
Yeah.
of
I
mine?
think Feyre was not skinny dipping. I think she explicitly said that she was still wearing her underwear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Lucian apologized for not coming to save her.
And he broke my heart.
We learned of Lucian's tragic backstory, guys.
Yeah, of course. Lucian has a tragic backstory. Tragic backstories will also be a theme in today's episode.
Yes.
Spoiler alert. And then he gave Feyre his knife.
His bejeweled hunting
knife. And was that the end of the last episode?
Yes, I think we left them off riding to the mansion. And now this chapter starts, I think, a day or two after. It doesn't say which day it is, but she says her paintings and painting utensils and whatnot finally arrived. And I like the way she says it. She's like, my supplies finally arrived, which kind of sounded like she was waiting for a package from Amazon or something. It finally got shipped. But now Tamlin, or rather his servants, finally cleaned the gallery, and now she can start to paint.
Yes.
And also Tamlin and Feyre can have their hot date in the art gallery, because it's clean now. The gallery, not the date.
What?
Okay, no, the date is pretty clean.
I wondered where Tamlin got the supplies from, because we haven't seen anything about Spring Court except for the mansion. And I just thought, is there maybe like a little village somewhere where there's a market and someone sells paints? Or
It's Fae'd now.
I don't know. Or is it, I don't know, special magic paint that just flies in from magic worlds.
I feel like there must be some sort of market or other
probably.
living place, because there are more Fae living around there somewhere. So maybe there's not just royalty and animal-like creatures, but like royalty, normal people, and animal-like creatures.
The fact that he had trouble to get it, I mean, we don't know if it was trouble, but he said, it will take me a few days to get paid for you, kind of reminded me of another book series I read, which is called Legend of the Albay, which is actually by a German author called Markus Heitz. He writes these epic fantasies known in Germany. I don't know if he's like internationally known. But he has a series about like evil and dark elves called the Albay. And they also have like high cultural passions and stuff. And one of them paints a lot. And he has a scene in the book where he has this special yellow paint and he's trying to paint with it. And then his servant, I think she runs against the table which has the paint on it and then it spills. And he's so mad because it's like special paint coming from an animal. And then he blinds her because she will now never be able to see his art again. And that is punishment worse than anything else.
Also a kind guy.
Yeah, a very
intense.
kind guy. He's a very problematic man. He's the main character in the series, which is interesting. But yeah, it kind of reminded me of that. Not like what happens in this chapter, but thinking about where the pain comes from. Maybe he actually went out and captured beasts, some kind of beast that had yellow liver, and he made paints of that, like people used to do in the Middle Ages.
So shout out to Markus Heitz and German fantasy. You know, I actually saw him once on a Renaissance fair.
Ooh.
I bet you don't see Sarah J. Maas every day on a Renaissance fair.
Arriving in the gallery, Feyre is really blown away by the art she sees, and all she can do is be like, why would you be so nice to me?
I'm just a human.
I don't even know. She's like, why do anything this kind? And she says, like, she's blurting it out. And I feel like that's kind of derpy. She's like, why do anything this kind?
He gets a little spooked. They're like walking in silence. She's like, why do anything? And he's like, huh, what? What happened?
Yeah, I feel whenever she shows her genuine emotions, she gets kind of a little bit explosive. On the one hand, it's kind of cute, and it's also a bit off-putting.
I think we have yet to see her real character.
Probably.
And maybe she's a huge dork.
I would love that.
But first, she is a very big fan of the art in the gallery. She's super blown away, and I think she gives like very nice descriptions of the different art styles, because she's like, some of the paintings were drawn from the eyes like I possess, and then others were drawn from other sets of eyes, different sets of eyes, which is, I think, just her way of saying like, oh, we have realism and surrealism, cubism, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a funny description.
I really liked how she described that, because I thought it was very beautiful, and it's a beautiful way to think about art and what art does in our society, because it gives us the chance to look at the world from another person's perspective and see how they see the world, and maybe that way understand that person better. And I feel that's very special and important.
Yeah, I like how she says she understands every painting.
Yeah.
And that's just cool. Even though it was probably drawn by Fae.
Yeah.
So she sees this art and like someone who wanted to express something, and she understands, even though they're not the same species.
I also think in the interaction between Feyre and Tamlin, they grew close very fast.
I mean, she's maybe been there for like, what, 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
3 weeks already?
No, I
I
don't
think
think
more
so.
like 2 weeks.
Maybe 2 weeks. I mean,
Yeah.
that's, in our understanding, not a lot of time to like get really close to someone, but she's spending all of her time with 3 people.
Yeah.
And
True.
if you like hang with 2 people every single day,
Yeah.
you get close to them pretty quickly.
It's like those reality series
Oh,
where
yeah.
they get stuck in a villa and have to fall in love, and after 3 days they're ready to get married.
The thing is, Tamlin is not there a lot of the time because he's hunting. So
But they have dinner.
And breakfast, probably.
So it's like meeting your parents. I also had a question about one thing that is described. She says, I barely registered moving into the long gallery, one hand absent-mindedly wrapping around my throat. And when I read this, I was like, what? Is she choking? What? I had to think immediately of Anakin, like choking. I was like, what could she mean? And I was like, maybe it's like a clutching her pearls moment,
I think
which I
that's
would
it.
describe as it's more the décolleté area than the throat. But then she describes how she lets her hand move down to her chest to feel her beating heart, which is not that far of a space. So I don't know, but...
It was just a weird description.
First time I read it, I was like, "The fuck's she doing?" And then I tried to picture it in my mind and picture myself in that situation and go like, oh, "That's so beautiful." And I think my hand goes up to my neck as well, kind of like not in a choking way, but if you see something you're very overwhelmed with, I think it's kind of like you put it there to remind yourself to breathe or something. I don't know. It's
I
like,
would put my hand on my heart, I think.
I don't know. I notice myself putting my hand on my neck a lot when I get like spooked or very nervous or something, just to,
Okay.
I don't know, not for a long time and not like with a grip, but it just goes there for security and then it goes away.
Helping your head stay upright.
Maybe that.
No, I think my hand would probably maybe go to my mouth, like covering your mouth in shock or something. But I also feel like it could be quite hard to describe how your hand rests on your neck, I guess. But there is this term like clutching your pearls, but it's not very applicable to this situation,
Yeah.
especially because she's not wearing pearls.
It's just worded very weird.
Yeah.
So listeners, please let us know, where does your hand go when you're overwhelmed? Your neck, your heart, your pants? I don't know. Just shoot us a DM at GettingFadePod on Instagram. Moving on.
Well, Tamlin is very fascinated as well, but not with the art, but with all the joy Feyre feels by watching all those paintings. Ah, beautiful.
How can humans just do this?
Be joyful?
I thought they were just trees. I don't know.
No, trees live long.
I feel like he has known her long enough to know that she has
Feelings.
feelings
Yes.
and is like she feels very intensely, I think. And he has seen that before. So
But maybe it's also just her letting loose a little in front of him. Because I feel like before she wouldn't really let her guard down in front of Tamlin, which is valid.
Yes. But also when he says, I couldn't imagine like humans were capable of this, was he referring like her having these emotions, or was he referring to her recognizing this as art and him being like, humans paint? Huh?
maybe a little bit of both. Well, but then he actually leaves her alone and gives her time to enjoy this stuff by herself. Oh
Go
my God.
Tamlin.
He gives her space. Gold star for you.
Awesome. And he promises her that she can come there whenever she wants.
Yes.
So he doesn't have a key to it, so she doesn't have to come to him and be like, I would like to paint today. It's like her room. And I mean, she has like a room that has a bed, but I think having something where you can do something you really enjoy is very special.
Yes.
Now she has like a little arts and crafts room.
Mood.
I think it's a rather big arts and crafts
Yeah.
room. But so yeah, she finds a new hobby. Or I guess
Her old hobby.
her old hobby, but now she can really start doing it.
Yes.
When in the book it says, most of my paintings at first were awful and useless, which I think may be true if you're just really starting out to do a hobby, but I feel like she is ashamed of that when she shouldn't be. I think most fairy or fae painters also sucked at first.
I think you're right. I think it is valid that she is not like as good as maybe the fae painters, but for me it is annoying to read how she constantly, and it's not just one time, it happens several times, that she's like, oh no, I'm not good enough, please someone tell me that this is great, please someone tell me they have never seen something like this. It's a bit exhausting.
I fear she's heading a little into the pick me girl direction with this, because I think we're at a point where she would really like to hear, oh my God, you're awesome, even if it's you're awesome for a human.
Yeah.
Because she'd be like, oh, because I know a lot of humans that suck and I'm awesome. A Fae Lord said so. And she doesn't say it explicitly, and I have high hopes that she will advert this stage and go to, I don't know, cool warrior girl or whatnot. I don't know.
Or even cool painter girl.
Yeah, sure. Fight with that brush. But yeah, I really hope she doesn't get high on Tamlin praising her for being better than the other humans.
Yeah. But I was actually very, very happy that she got to finally draw or paint.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. And it's nice Tamlin gives her space to do it, even though I'm sure he sneaks in and looks at her paintings, even though she doesn't want him to.
For sure.
But well, then we have a little time jump, and she says...
big time jump.
It's a significant time jump.
Weeks! Oh my god, weeks!
Yes.
What? That surprised me, because like after the last few chapters, I thought, wow, plot is happening, shit is about to go down. And then weeks passed in her nice little, I'm painting a flower life.
Yeah, it's again maybe kind of subverting our expectation what the plot is. Because I feel like maybe all of us were like, okay, I guess the plot is them getting to know each other and spending their life in this fucking mansion. But no. But I think with where these chapters are going, I'm looking forward to where this is heading.
I like how we're once again saying, oh, but these chapters, they actually get the plot up.
We're only halfway through the book. Maybe the plot is finally starting. But maybe it's just like a few little plots. You know? First plot, getting there. Second plot, getting to know them. Third plot, we will see.
Fourth plot, getting Fae'd.
But yeah, she spends those weeks painting, and when she's not painting, she takes Prithian tours with her trustworthy tour guide, Tamlin, which is a funny thought.
These descriptions kind of reminded me a bit of these animated Barbie movies in kind of she leaps out of bed with a renewed drive to do what she likes, and she lives in a great castle and can do whatever she wants and twirls around and root-de-doo.
But she gets very sad and depressed when Ken is gone.
So is Lucian then Bibble?
Yes!
Bibble rules.
Yeah, but as you said, she's like, oh no, Tamlin has to go out to do dangerous things, but his safe return was enough. And I only read it as like, oh no, my man has to go into danger, but there he is, back from whatever terrible thing he had to endure.
I think it was meant to just highlight how dangerous Prithian is and how much Tamlin is doing to keep Springcourt, or at least the mansion, kind of safe,
I guess.
But it just reads like this 3 months into a new relationship where you kind of have to get used to still being able to spend time with yourself and without your partner and something. And she clearly isn't capable of doing that.
Yeah.
Because she's freaking out when he's out there. And I know it's worried that he's getting hurt, but it also reads like, okay, I don't know what to do while he's gone. And I miss him so much and I have to sit here and wait till he comes back and then I can go on with whatever painting.
It seems like she's always sitting at the window waiting for him.
Yeah, she's like Bella in Twilight.
Oh.
In that one montage.
So the vibes I'm getting is like 1950s housewife and her husband is off to war.
Yeah, she's getting very dependent on him.
Yeah.
And I don't like that.
I mean, to cut Feyre some slack, this is still like the honeymoon phase.
True. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're not even really together yet.
Yeah, they've known each other for like a month and, you know, ignoring the fact that their relationship started with him abducting her from a family.
As one does.
Then we can see like, they've been now having feelings for each other for 3 weeks and it's cute and I really like being around him. You know, if we can just, I kind of have the mission to maybe start cutting Tamlin some slack because, you know, this is happening now. He's a fictional character, as we've discussed. Maybe we can forgive him.
Join us.
Join us. In the context of this story, I just want to, you know, I want to try to maybe like Tamlin a bit. And it's hard.
And you, Meike?
I guess we can pretend.
We don't have you don't have to follow peer pressure. You can keep on not liking him.
The thing is, I'm going from hating Tamlin to just thinking he's very, very silly.
Yeah, I also have to say, I don't think I'd say I like Tamlin. I think I like aspects of him or story parts that involve him, but not like the whole of his character.
Yeah, I agree on that.
Yeah, and I think like one aspect she clings on to, Feyre being she in this case, is she remembers the sentence from the Suriel, "Stay with the High Lord, you will be safe." And I have to say, apparently I didn't read it very aware, because when I first read it, I didn't clock that this is probably foreshadowing. and that she will not stay with him.
You didn't?
No, I don't know. I just read it and I was like, well, that's gonna be boring if she just stays there.
Well, we don't know if she's not staying with him.
Well, two things can be untrue in this statement. She can, A, not stay with him, or B, she can stay with him and be not safe.
True. Yes. But I do think it is foreshadowing that this will not be the case.
Yeah, but we will talk about that in 2 hours when we get to the end of chapter 20.
But she's getting very comfortable with the whole Prithian situation and the whole Tamlin situation and those, I don't know, I'm thinking like maybe 4 or 5 weeks.
Time passed.
Yeah.
And their relationship started to loosen up a little. I mean, now it feels like, Lucian is snarling at her paint-covered clothes and Tamlin is like, let me see your art, let me see your art, let me see your art. And, for the first time it feels not just like they feel above her and are making fun of her, but it feels like a funny, friendly banter,
I feel like it feels a little bit like a little family. They just, or like some roommates, just hanging out at dinner, making fun of each other.
Great sitcom.
Yeah.
Would have been,
But
maybe.
that would be way too nice and way too boring. So now finally thoughts of her family catch up with her once again. And she kind of, for the first time, realizes that the mortal world and maybe even her family is now going on without her. And that stresses her and scares her. And she thinks maybe Tamlin just gave her paints and stuff to distract her from the fact that he made her family forget her. Or like forget that she's captured. And she's getting very mad and depressed about that.
Yeah, I think especially the structure made me feel very uncomfortable because she liked spending time with Tamlin and how they grew even closer with each other. And then the immediate next sentence is, it was probably the lulling of magic that clouded my thoughts. And I was like, ew. I mean, she says this in regards to her family and how she hasn't thought of her family, but she thinks that it's magic that is making her compliant. And that feels very icky and... ugh. Yeah.
Yeah, it
As
does.
you said, with Tamlin having let her forget
Tamlin.
Tamlin. Sorry. And as you said, with Tamlin having let her forget her family, I don't know, this also felt a bit like, not an excuse, but like 2 ways, or she's thinking in 2 ways. Like, I felt like she should maybe make up her mind, because she scolds herself for falling for this trap or whatever. And I feel like if he is lulling you in, then it is not your fault, but his. And he should be the person that you should direct your anger toward. And if you did something shitty, you should be angry at yourself. But then you should be angry that you forget your family and not that you let yourself be lulled by magic or whatever. It's again this, I'm such a bad person. Why am I doing this? No.
I think I never felt like Sarah J. Maas was incredibly good at writing something. It's like not badly written, but I rarely have moments where I'm like, wow, this is good writing. I already said I have this when I read like her grieving scenes in other books, but I think the rest of this book is just very mediocre writing. And when she gets very poetic, it feels like she's getting very poetic because she's writing out how Feyre would think, and it feels a bit too much. But I think here it worked pretty well because we got lulled in as well.
True.
I feel like reading the last chapter and then the beginning of this one, we were like, oh, we're forgiving Tamlin. We're feeling safe. It's fun. It's just a little sitcom. It's also nice. And then Feyre has to remind us, hello, this is maybe all just a ruse. We have to keep our mind together and do not believe everything we read about this book.
Fuck. I was fooled. Now I can smell the metallic tang.
And I think this is really good writing.
That's
if
true.
that happens to you, if you fall into the same trap as a character.
It's again good writing by gaslighting us.
Yeah, I think I will feel better about this when we reach the point, or I hope we reach the point where she actually discovers that this is kind of, I don't know, a trap or all a ruse to capture her, and maybe he wasn't actually kind, or he was kind despite of it, who knows. But yeah, when we know more, we can actually truly judge if this is good writing and just lulling us in, or if she's just falling in love with her captor.
Yeah, I get your point. It's very frustrating how she changes her mind like every second chapter. She's like, oh, he's nice. No, he's just playing nice. Oh, he's nice. Oh, he's just playing nice. Because we have so little to grab on. We don't know what to believe. And
on the other hand, it probably maybe could even be relatable. As you said, she's just spending time with these two guys and a servant. Could be the name of a sitcom, Two Guys and a Servant.
It's the name of this sitcom.
Yes. No, but she's just spending time with these two guys and they are like kind of kind to her now, and she's like, well, I have to accept my fate, so doesn't do anything good for her if she just dwells on, oh, if I wish I wasn't here. She has to do the best with her situation, so I think we could forgive her for like wanting to have just like a decent life here now.
It's a very tricky situation.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what to do.
But I'm looking forward to the novella by Sarah J. Maas, A Court of Two Guys and a Servant. I feel like we have to do an entire bonus episode on this topic once we have all the information we need to judge this writing.
Maybe when we finish book 1, then we do like a flashback episode where we go like, how do we feel now?
We see. This is just us making uninformed guesses. So let's keep doing that, because we have to unwrap the dreams that she has.
Okay.
She dreams of the pale woman again, ripping her apart or something. And then she also dreams of a creeping shadow that watches her, but she can't really grasp it.
I mean, she's felt watched before.
In a dream.
So it's probably just the lingering fear of someone keeping an eye on her.
I feel like it does mean that someone is watching her, either looking for her or watching over her, like in a bad way, not like in a guardian angel way. And I don't think the shadow has to be the actual person.
It might be a metaphor.
Yes.
But I feel like it's just, foreshadowing, maybe for a big plot twist that, recontextualizes everything we've read so far. One dream, I think it was mentioned that she had that feeling of someone watching her while she killed the wolf. And I don't know if that meant that literally someone was there, but this could mean this was part of a scheme or part of a plan. And, I just trying to make something out of this, but I can't because I don't have enough information.
But think about it. If somebody actually was watching her dreams or checking up on her in her dreams, then that would, first of all, mean that person is quite powerful. Second of all, that would mean that this person knows she is there and she is important and something about her is special or important, and especially about her dreams, because in her dreams she's kind of reflecting about what is happening to her or what has happened to her. So maybe that's how they learn what she is doing right now or something.
I feel like she does not make much of these dreams, and I wouldn't blame her, because obviously we think, oh, that has to mean something. But we have to remind ourselves that Feyre does not know that she's the protagonist of a book.
Yeah, it's more like a recurring nightmare.
Yeah.
And I understand why she wouldn't tell Tamlin about it, because it's like maybe even a sign of weakness or something, like I fear this particular thing. What the fuck's up with that?
Also, the mystery might just be over pretty quickly if Tamlin was like,
yes.
Oh, what? How does this woman look? Oh, that's
my mother.
Yes, my dead mother. Spoiler. Watching over you, and that's a bad thing. Let's do something about it.
Yeah, I think for the plot to happen, she mustn't know.
But it all just gives her a very bad mood all through the day. She doesn't really participate in dinner, and Tamlin and Lucien give her space, which is
growth.
A good thing. But also kind of, I don't know, if I notice someone visibly being very down, I don't know, I would have said something maybe, and Tamlin will say something later, very skillfully. But yeah, they just kind of give her space during dinner, and then Feyre goes out to the rose garden to have some peace and quiet. Well, Tamlin then shows up in the garden, not giving her peace and quiet, but it feels like it was okay.
Yeah.
She doesn't react badly to him. I mean, she kind of does react badly, but not especially to him showing up when she didn't want him to. She just is in a bad mood. And he tells her that his parents, or well, rather his father, planted the rose garden for his mother as a mating present. It just sounds
Wrong.
I'm not getting comfortable with this word.
No.
I've read it so much in all her books, and every time it comes up, I just feel icky.
You're like Donna in Doctor Who. You just want to mate. You're not mating with me, guy.
It's just not a good word.
Yeah, but I think we get to the bottom of what is actually bothering her for quite some time. And I really like that. She finally reflects upon how she feels about how her family treated her and how they just let her go and not even like try to fight for her. And I think it's very nice that this actually does bother her and makes her angry.
Yeah, I think the fact that Tamlin took their memories is not the worst of it. It's rather that now they will never come for her. I think she had this little hope in her heart that maybe they would care enough to try something to bring her back. And now they cannot because they don't know something is wrong. And I think that's what really hurts her the most. I like the way Feyre kind of has a little mental breakdown. And I think I'm just going to read it because I think it's nicely written. I don't know why I feel so tremendously ashamed of myself for leaving them. Why it feels so selfish and horrible to paint. I shouldn't feel the way, should I? I know I shouldn't, but I can't help it. All those years, what I did for them. And they didn't try to stop you from taking me. I think this is what it all boils down to. That they didn't try to stop Tamlin from taking daughter and sister. And that's really fucking sad. This family sucks.
Yes.
It's been a while since we said that.
Let's say it all together.
This family sucks. But while this is sad and all, it's kind of funny how she acts out this emotional breakdown. How she rips out a rose from the bush and then stings her finger. She's like, I'm even ignoring the pain. I don't care that I'm bleeding. I'm just being emo now. And
Dark Feyre has arrived.
I think it was funny in a little, this is silly. It feels like a teenager being very angry and realizing what feelings feel like. And it's relatable because she's a teenager.
Yeah, she is
She's
a
allowed
teenager.
to feel that way. It's just funny to read.
Do you think maybe the rose might be a metaphor?
Probably.
And the bleeding?
Maybe. I mean, the book is called A Court of Thorns and Roses.
That's true.
I think it just, thorns and roses look nice and thorns sting and you get hurt by what looks nice. I'm not sure
The
if...
dichotomy of beauty.
Lukas, you artist.
Yeah, I don't think this particular rose means something.
I do, but more on that later.
Okay.
But I think this book is all about beautiful things sting, not in a sexual way.
You sure?
Maybe. But I like how Tamlin reacts in this moment. And I never thought I would say this, but he doesn't go, I didn't know humans felt feelings. He tells her feelings are valid because she feels them. And that's a very, very good thing to say in that moment.
And I also like how he says that it is okay if she allows herself to be happy or have a happy moment. And I thought that was very important too.
Yeah, he did good.
Pat on his head.
Tamlin, you get a thumbs up from me.
From Meike.
This is the greatest honor of
This
all.
is like your first good behavior star. If you have 5, you can get some ice cream.
Nice. You can get some Feyre cream.
Lukas! No!
You're leaving this podcast now.
No!
Goodbye.
There's only 2 of us.
It was a blast.
Fuck off!
From now on, the podcast quality is gonna suck because I'm not editing anymore.
We don't have to edit out shit like that anymore. But now that he has his little gold star, this scene is going downhill. What happens now? I liked it. I liked how Feyre reacted. I like how he reacted. I like what's going on. I like how we're exploring feelings and stuff. But the way this scene continues, he kisses her hand to heal it.
Yeah.
The heat is here, guys!
He puts the rose behind her ear and then he kisses her cheek before leaving. Bro!
I think it's funny how disgusting you find it. I had not a reaction like that at all. I was just giddy, ooh, the heat is starting.
You know,
I think-
it's just cheesy.
Yeah,
And
no,
on the nose,
no.
or should I say on the cheek?
I mean, it is cheesy, but she's also so vulnerable in this moment. She's standing there
But he's
being like, my family
comforting
would have never
her."
comforted her. Yes, he could comfort her by saying good shit. He shouldn't comfort her by kissing her hand and kissing her cheek and being all touchy-touchy and flirty-flirty.
I actually brought you a quote that I kind of liked.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Yeah, because I thought that was weird. She's again and again, she's like, why are you doing this? Why are you so kind to me? Blah, blah, blah. And then he explains why he feels attracted to her.
I know what you're getting at.
Because your human joy fascinates me. The way you experience things in your lifespan so wildly and deeply and all at once is entrancing. I'm drawn to it, even when I know I shouldn't be, even when I try not to be.
It's like he's in love with a science project.
I also think it is a bit weird, and, she could kind of be replaced with any human, but I still liked it. And then I was like, why do I like it? Because I feel like this is also kind of tropey and
forbidden love.
Yeah, not that, but also like with vampires or other supernatural beings. I was like, oh, I'm undead. I can't feel like you anymore. I guess it's because it makes clear how special and wonderful human emotions could be. And with the view of a supernatural non-human being, that makes the human experience special.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that works on me. Not just in this case, but like in all the cases.
I thought the scene was bearable.
Very diplomatic of you.
I feel like I'm just not the target audience. I mean, there are aspects of this book that I really like, and then there's this. And then one step below that is Tamlin taking off his clothes for no reason. And Lea, I'm happy for you because I feel like you just enjoy all of that. Yeah. And that's great.
I mean, I feel like I can acknowledge that this is a weird thing to say, and it's, this is not, it doesn't make her special because, as I said, you could just fall in love with any human like this. But this whole scene made me really giddy because I was like, ooh, they're getting close to each other. Ooh, kissy, kissy.
You know what that feels like? Comparing the lifespans and all. It's like me when I see a dog. And I'm like... I look in this dog's eyes and it just feels pure joy. And I want that sometimes. And also, his life is so short. So every moment, when I throw this ball and he's so hyped, it's just so special to him. And it kind of feels like that, I like the dog. I would not start a loving relationship with the dog.
But imagine the dog having a human form and like being able to communicate with you like on an equal level.
Describe the human form?
Whatever you could imagine.
Oh.
Like made for you.
Made?
No.
Made for me?
You see? No, I think this analogy is not too bad because her being a pet could be accurate, let's be honest, which is very bad. But kissy kissy!
That's true, Lea. I didn't consider that. Kissy kissy, though.
Kissy,
so,
kissy.
yeah, I mean,
You're
sure.
right.
One thing I wanted to add before this like paragraph ends, I guess. He's like, one day there will be answers for everything, but not until the time is right, until it is safe. So there is a bigger picture.
Yeah.
There are answers to be had. Whee!
I think we should just not try to guess the answers now.
It's very ominous.
No, but we were right that there is something bigger going on. I mean, it was not hard. It was not hard to guess because they were talking about it. But
So, may I do the big analysis of the rose? This whole thing with the rose reminded me of a song that has basically this exact thing in its lyrics in the first verse. The song is called Hurricane by Thrice. Shout out, listen to the song. If you're on Spotify, just go listen to the song and then come back.
Beautiful song.
It kind of made me wonder if maybe Sarah J. Maas just listened to that song and then wrote that. I don't know what came out first. I don't care, that's my headcanon. The lyrics are, these flowers I found you, the truest red that I've ever seen, until you cut yourself on their thorns. You winced and I kissed you. I kissed your palms and we both laughed, so unaware of the gathering storm.
aww.
Not awe, because the gathering storm is not awe, it's not good. It's, that one last thing of love before they break up.
Oh.
Before the hurricane hits.
But without this explanation, just these few lines, it sounded to me like they would brave the storm together.
No. This means that Feyre is gonna metaphorically cut herself on this love she feels for Tamlin.
That's okay.
That's a metaphor. That's a big symbol. She like falls in love, but then it sucks and it's bad. And Tamlin is the villain. And also this is all terrible.
Yeah, I think that would be a good story. I would like that.
I feel like that's, the thing of roses. It's beautiful at first, but then you cut yourself on the thorn.
Nice.
This makes me, again, a bit more confident in that theory we had way back, that Tamlin is the bad guy and is bad for her, and I want that.
Aren't we sold on that theory, all of us?
I mean, I want this to be true, but at the end of this episode, I will have another theory for you guys. So
Nice.
It's not as deep as this one.
Yeah, I don't know. But then, Tamlin heals the wound, and maybe that means something. I don't know.
But he also makes the thorns disappear, which I found very weird. I mean, yeah, it's good that you don't put the thorny rose behind her ear and scratch her up, but it also feels so unnatural, But, aren't there like roses bred to not have thorns?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'm thinking back to the roses I've gotten before, and they, I think, all had thorns, but some of them were like where you would hold it, they cut them up.
Maybe the people giving you the roses were just cheap. That's why they all had thorns.
Maybe. Then there's a little break in the chapter, and what follows next is so absurd and silly.
Yes.
There's only one way to summarize it. I wrote a poem to summarize it.
Yes!
I would like to read it to you now. In Springcourt Woods, Feyre sought retreat, but Tamlin followed with his stupid, stealthy feet. He fell in her snare, oh what a sight, caught by Feyre's skill, but he took it light. Claws setting him free, he whips out 5 poems? Are you fucking kidding me? Tamlin thought she cursed his name, but it's not all about you, you fucking man. You're so damn vain. Each poem more absurd, each verse more obscene. Yet, through his nonsense, Feyre's laughter was seen. Her falling for Tamlin, it's just not fair. When sexy, tragic backstory Foxboy is really right there.
Wow,
That was beautiful.
That was very, very amazing. I'm impressed.
Thank you.
And I feel delighted now. Should we just move on then? As you said in the poem, they go to the woods, or she goes alone.
She goes alone.
And then she notices him following her because other creatures are fleeing. And she's not like, okay, I'm turning around to speak to you. She's like, ha ha ha, I have a plan. This would be funny. And she lays a trap, a snare, and actually captures him.
That's
which was
cute.
very surreal. Ha, surreal. And then she kind of flirts with him. I mean, you can see it in my notes. I wrote down like, her flirting is so, and then I wrote down a word and crossed it out and wrote down another word and crossed it out again. And I landed on funny. Because I didn't want to shame her. I mean, it is cute, as you said, but this is also very weird.
Yeah, this is, why? Why, Sarah? He's like dangling upside down. And for a moment there, I was really mortified that we might get the upside down Spider-Man kiss.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Whew, I'm glad that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
I like that she was like in the position of power for once. And I think she liked it too. And I think like for a second he liked it too. Like she like touches his hair and crawls his scalp. I don't know. And he's like, go on. But then he frees himself very quickly. And I was like, well, that didn't last long. But yeah, it gets really sexy and intense.
These poems, they just threw me off.
I would have liked to read more of them because I feel like for the way she describes them is very obscene.
Yeah, she was like, the last one got really explicit and obscene, and I would have liked to.
Yeah,
to
because the
have that.
first one is not very obscene.
It's also very bad.
Well, it's not. It's more of a limerick than a poem.
Yes.
Shall I read it for our listeners?
Yes.
So this is gonna suck now compared to your poem, Meike.
Of course.
There once was a lady most beautiful, spirited if a little unusual. Her friends were few, but how the man did queue. But to all she gave a refusal. And it was like, what?
Yeah, her reaction is described as, my brows rose so high I thought they'd touch my hairline. And that was the exact same reaction I had.
Yeah.
But I guess it's cute? Question mark.
He wrote her poems, but not cheesy love poems.
Sex poems! Woo!
I mean, he used the words in her teaching herself how to read list. And that's, I guess that's cute. I feel like this is something that is only cute when you're hot.
Yeah.
Like, if that was, some guy that she just wasn't into at all, this would be pretty creepy.
All Tamlin does would be very creepy if he wasn't attracted to her.
But I also think like being good at writing dirty poems actually is like an interesting addition to his personality, and he makes him less bland.
Also, he plays a good fiddle.
A mean fiddle.
A mean fiddle.
Yeah, it's a very random character trait we now know about him.
Yeah.
But it's kind of fun.
And also they're perfect for each other because he makes her laugh out loud.
Also, he's an artist too. She paints, he poems.
But she gives a roaring, loud laugh that shatters age-old ice like sunshine.
She laughs for the first time in ages, probably.
Yeah, I mean, she laughed before, but not like this. She probably never laughed like this. Isaac couldn't do that for her.
But also, she made him laugh before. So
Cute.
best pairing ever. I feel like this is a relationship that I personally do not find that appealing, but it works for them, so it works for me,
Yeah. And it's also, more than just these two protagonists, male and female, are both attractive. So of course they're gonna have a relationship.
Yeah. I also have to add that I really like how she describes the way she feels his presence. I feel like the sexual tension is very palpable here, and I think it's described very good. And I like that it's getting hot now. So moving on.
It's getting so hot now. They're actually taking a stroll back to the mansion.
Hot.
Oh.
One hot ass stroll.
And we know what a stroll means. It means lore drop time. This time we learn about Tamlin's family.
Yay.
Nice.
Yay! First, we learn about the mating bond, or just the concept of mating, which is apparently stronger than marriage. There is marriage, Fae marry, but when they mate, it's much more significant.
I was wondering, is this mating thing a magical thing, like the imprinting in Twilight? Or are they just using different terms for different intensities of relationships?
To me, it reads like if two Fae are happily married, but then one meets their mate, then it's also socially accepted for them to divorce and go to their mate. And also Lucian or Tamlin at one point talked about the mating bond snapping into place. And that feels like it's, a real thing.
I don't want to say too much about it, because I know the concept of mating in other books, and I just guess that it's going to be the same, or at least similar to that. But I think what this implies is that it's more than just a word for something different, and it feels like it's a bit more not something you could touch in an actual touchy way, but something that has some kind of shape and form in a meaningful way. I don't think it's a bond that actually bonds you, but something that means something. It changes something when it happens. I don't think mating is something she made up. I'm not sure, but I feel like
She made up.
But I feel like other books do too. I don't have an example, but I don't think it's just a Sarah J. Maas thing, but a fantasy, especially Fae book thingy. And I think it's used a lot to just be like, okay, this is the person now. The others have just been lovers we might have enjoyed, but they were not the right one. Now we have it.
But the real question is, can humans be mates for Fae? But Feyre is too ashamed to ask that.
Ah, she's so silly sometimes.
Yeah, she is.
Do you think Feyre is Tamlin's one true mate?
No. I want Lucian and Tamlin to be mates.
Maybe they are. Anyways, Tam has a backstory.
Yay.
A very, very tragic one.
Who would have thunk?
He has a tortured soul.
Oh, poor boy.
I made a happy smiley next to my nose.
Okay.
We love suffering. We love suffering. We love suffering. The more pain, the better. The more pain, the better. Stab that bitch. Stab that bitch.
This is gonna be my new ringtone now.
Maybe we should,
Explain.
just continue so we can let some air in the studio.
Tamlin and Feyre have one thing in common. Their families suck.
Yes.
And that's such a good bonding ground. Parental trauma. So he describes his dad as being even worse than Lucian's dad was. And that means something after reading the last chapter.
Yeah,
What
I
chapter
think so.
did we find out
I
about
think so.
Lucian's backstory? Well, and he has 2 older brothers, so not a big family, big family as Lucian's family was, but they all kept slaves. Back in the day when you were allowed to have human slaves, they all had slaves.
Horrible people.
Horrible people. Yeah, so they all sucked. Maybe his mother was okay, but she didn't speak out to her husband, so she sucked too.
I mean, she was mated with her husband, so she could surely not criticize him. Where would we get with that?
And Tamlin being the youngest, he didn't think he would ever earn the title of Lord because he was maybe like the soft-hearted one.
Soft boy.
And he went out to join the warband, what you do when you're the soft-hearted one. And he became like a good warrior to fight for his father and his brothers in whatever way they would ever need him.
He found the one thing he's good at.
Killing.
Is that your killing sound?
Yes, of course.
Imagine you're being killed by Lukas.
So yeah, he is now doing the only thing he's good at. He's a bit weird when he tells us. He's like, I didn't really like what my family did, so I joined the army to do whatever they would ever need me for. Huh?
Yeah, that's why I wrote down, oh, traumatic backstory, yay. And then I was like, is it traumatic?
He didn't really suffer because of it.
I mean, he had to kill people, but he also chose to do it.
Yeah.
I guess later he realized, it's not so great.
Yeah. So then some High Lord, he doesn't even specify which one, killed his family, spared him because of whatever reason, and now he's the High Lord because he's the only one left.
We already talked about how Tamlin did not want to be on the throne, and that I don't know why, I don't remember what we know and what was a prediction, but we did have the prediction that maybe the ominous she made him take this role. And if she killed his family, maybe the reason behind it was that she was like, oh, you are so powerful, I need you to serve me, be the Lord, kill all the others.
Yeah, I had a similar idea. I thought maybe the High Lord that killed his family is she or is not she? I don't know. I'm not certain about that. But I think that High Lord person killed his family because they wanted Tamlin to be ruler of Springford because of his powers or because of some other reason. I don't know, but it just feels very coincidental that Tamlin, as the only person in this family, survived. Because I think High Lords are very sorrow if they want to be. So they would just finish the job and kill all of them.
True. Also, he describes how he got more and more powerful, and that's why his brothers were like, fuck, he could be an actual threat even though he doesn't want to be. So if she finds out about his powers and is like, I will use these, she could.
Who knows? This is making uninformed guesses with getting Fae'd.
Well, half-informed guesses. Also, he explains because all his family was like mean to mortals and had slaves, and mean to mortals sounds so demure in comparison of what they actually did. But then he says like, and when I arrived at your hovel and saw you there, I wanted to spare you from this fate and just take you with me, because that was the least I could do, the least harm I could do. And then we get the thank you we were all worried about, because Feyre thanks him for not killing her. Good job!
And she now believes that his generosity is real, that it's like a counteraction to what his family did.
And I mean, yes, this is trauma bonding, but I think it's also interesting that they, or at least Feyre, still finds similarities between their families, because they are quite different families. But still, she's like, okay, we kind of have similar experience in some ways, and that's why I understand you, my guy.
I think one of the biggest similarities for her is that he, while being trained as a warrior, was not trained as a noble. So when he came to court, he was kind of the uncivilized,
beast,
unmannered one, and she was the uncivilized, unmannered one in her family. So they kind of bond about this, or at least she does.
Yeah. He also then says that the people of his court didn't really like him as a ruler. They kind of despised him because he wasn't like one of them, not trained as a ruler. And Feyre immediately goes to defend him and says like, no, you protected them from the blight and do everything to help them. And then a darkness flickered in his eyes. And I have a prediction about that.
Let's go.
I think maybe he has a plan to combat the blight, but he feels conflicted because he has to use Feyre. That's why a darkness goes over his eyes, because he does not want to use her.
That's interesting. It's not really what I thought. I kind of read it as he has darkness in his eyes because maybe he did not do everything in his power.
Ooh.
That's what I thought.
The conclusion is he is a tortured soul, and Feyre too, and that's why they love each other. Nice.
Love, true love.
Before they talk about more trauma, I guess, Feyre kind of gets distracted by fairies building some bonfires, but I would say we're going to talk about that later when it comes up again and get right to the big
Nitty-gritty.
plotty thing that happens next, because the atmosphere shifts quite dramatically and Tamlin tells her to hide and be quiet and don't come out no matter what happens. Always a good start. And then Feyre overhears Tamlin and Lucien talk to some invisible thing with a very deep and scary disembodied voice. And they discuss that she, now she comes up again, is apparently displeased with Tamlin's behavior and his actions. And apparently he has dispatched his warriors and she doesn't like that. We didn't know about that, did we?
No.
I mean, we know that he has dispatched warriors to the wall and to his borders, but nothing more.
And we find out that she sent the beasts and fairies to remind him of her power.
Dumping her trash.
And that she could,
How
like with a
rude.
snap of her finger, could...
Like blow up the whole court,
Yeah.
basically.
Then the voice warns Tamlin to not break the terms of the... And then Lucien interrupts the goddamn idiot.
Lucien is doing this for the plot.
Ah, my man.
Disappointment!
Yeah, we don't know the terms of the what.
Guess
But
they have
You could
an agreement.
be like the terms of the treaty.
Yeah.
Like the voice warning Tamlin not to break the treaty by having a human alive, but I don't think that's it.
Nah.
It's something else. He has some kind of agreement
Yeah.
with
with her.
I think.
Yes.
Yes.
And he's about to break it, maybe. Or at least she is scared that he might break it.
So I have a prediction. Maybe she is trying to conquer the whole of Prythian, and other courts have already bent to her rule, bent the knee, because I think Lucien says something like, we will never bow our heads or something like that. But Tamlin is vigilant and doesn't join her court. She also already has some commanding position over Tamlin, because this being describes her as she who holds your fate in her hand. So, as you said, they probably already have agreed to something.
Yeah, I think maybe the reason why his eyes darkened earlier when she said you did everything you could might be part of this whole agreement, because we don't really know how the blight affected other courts, do we? Maybe he had something to do with enhancing effects on other courts or something, I don't know, or clearing out the ones that didn't want to do something. This is all very vague because I have no clue. But maybe this is part of it. He didn't do everything he could because he already had an agreement with someone who might profit from the others losing grounds or something.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like back then, the good old days in the early episodes of this podcast, where we had so much information, but not really, and we just guessed into the blue. Because this is so much new shit, and I feel like we could sit here for 2 hours and ramble on about our theories.
Well, let's just focus on what we know. We know
Yes.
this thingy is called the ACOTAR.
Ah, yes, right.
Sure.
It has wings and can fly and is apparently invisible or can be invisible.
Yeah, doesn't she hear leather wings or
Yeah,
something?
she hears it fly away and feels like a bitter wind hitting her.
And he's a messenger for her. And I think Feyre has the thought of like, well, if that fucking scary thing is just the messenger, then oof, big oof.
Big oof.
I like the build-up.
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
to say, you know, it feels like a pretty powerful villain, this she.
I'm looking forward to meeting her.
Same.
She's probably hot.
Tamlin is very sure, or at least he says so, that the Ator didn't see her. But then I thought, fairies smell so much stuff. He probably knows she's there, and
Yeah.
Tamlin just doesn't want to worry her. But then again, he also tells it to Lucien. I don't know. I think the Ator knows.
I think Tamlin wants it to be true that the Ator doesn't know, but he says it so often that the Etter has to know.
But maybe the Etter had a cold and a stuffed nose, and he didn't smell her.
He didn't actually have that deep of a voice, but because he had a cold, he sounded a bit dangerous.
He's actually a really nice guy. I love how Feyre is us at the end of this chapter, because Lucien goes like, what have you heard? And Feyre's like, nothing. Well, at least nothing I understood. And there was me. I read it, and I was like, what? You're not answering any questions.
Just giving us more.
Well, that was quite the chapter.
It was very long.
Yeah.
I feel like it's been the longest.
And a lot
Yeah.
happened.
Yes.
A lot of different things.
Yeah.
We could easily stop here, but we've read chapter 20.
Yes.
So we're doing this. This episode is over length. We will
Yes.
charge 50 cents more.
Charge whom? We do not get paid, Lukas.
You know, I would say the advertisers, but we do not have ads. So,
But if you guys share this podcast with a lot of people, then maybe we get enough traction so that we can get sponsors and then charge 50 cents more for this episode.
nice.
The
Also,
sponsors, not you guys.
also join our Patreon that we do not have. Meike, go ahead and start with chapter 20, please.
Chapter 20 is, thankfully, very short.
Yes.
And it mainly revolves around these festivities we have brushed over.
It's short but intense.
Yes.
The mansion for the next few days or the
2
next
days.
day. Yeah, I think Tamlin says it's 2 days till the thing happens. Is pretty busy with like setting up the festivities. And Tamlin is busy as well, I guess. So Feyre is spending her time painting. And she paints probably her mind thinks this Etter thing could
Yeah.
have looked like, because she draws this scary winged fanged thingy
Creature.
that is super scary, and she like has nightmares about it, and she doesn't like to look at it, but she drew it.
Maybe this means something. You know, she drew it without even really wanting to draw it, and maybe that's the truth she painted there. Maybe that's going to be a thing that she, I don't know, paints the future or something.
She drew flowers all over her hut, and now she's in spring court where there are a lot of flowers. So the festivities, the celebration they're celebrating is called Calanmai, the fire night.
Which is bad, because I am hungry and it sounds like calamari.
Well, it is described as a holiday. And she's like, we don't celebrate holidays in human world. And I was like, what?
None?
I mean, sure, you don't keep your oppressors' holidays, but shouldn't you adapt your own, like maybe Treaty Day?
Yeah, I
or
thought so too.
Promise Day, or we have not died from the Plague Day, or even Labor Day. You know, you work hard.
Yeah, it feels very absurd that this whole civilization kind of does not have any holidays. But this Calanmai fire night thingy, it's a spring ceremony. People light bonfires, and the magic they create helps generate the land for the year ahead. So it's kind of like a farming thingy.
So Feyre wonders, how do they make magic? And then Tamlin is very vague and says, it's a fairy thing. And he might as well have said, yeah, it's some weird fucking shit, and also we probably definitely sacrifice someone.
I love how he says it. He's like, it's a ritual, and it's very fairy.
Yes. I was just like, what might this be? But I was like, this is gonna be an orgy.
Sounds like it.
But it also sounds like someone's gotta die.
Yeah.
Sounds like Midsummer.
So
Yeah.
are they gonna fight or fuck?
Both.
Yeah.
But Calanmai actually exists.
Yes. Well, I found it on Wikipedia, my trusty source.
Go ahead.
And it says it's a Welsh tradition, and they celebrate the first day of summer, in this case, the first day of May, which is Labor Day in Germany. So they do celebrate Labor Day.
Well, I mean, in Germany, we have a similar holiday
Yes.
celebrated in the night of like April 30th to May 1st, Walpurgisnacht, which
yeah,
is
it's
basically the same thing.
It's with witches.
Put up
Yeah, it's very
bonfires,
witchy.
and in like the Wicca tradition, which is very witchy, it was also a night to like create stronger magic. So that corresponds. And this whole light bonfire thingy, fire night thing reminded me a lot about something I have read in Heir of Fire, which is the third book in Throne of Glass, where they celebrate Beltane, which is the fire night, where bonfires would be ignited and a few brave souls would jump across for luck toward of evil to ensure a good crop or whatever they hoped would come of it.
So they jump over fire?
Yeah, and they like dance around it. I think that
doesn't
what it
sound
means.
too dangerous.
Naked?
Maybe. Not in the book, but maybe.
Oh.
And then I researched Beltane, and Beltane is the Gaelic May Day celebration. So Welsh, Irish, European, German, they all
And
celebrate
Prithian.
1st of May, the beginning of summer. And in this book, it's a celebration for spring because it's spring court, I guess.
He also tells her that because of this celebration, a lot of visiting fairies will be around and that she should try not to run into them. But if she does, she should just ignore them. And I was like, sure, that will work because they won't clock her as a human immediately.
Yeah, we'll see how that works in a couple of pages.
So I guess these festivities start with the sound of drums. Doo-dum, doo-dum, doo-dum.
And pretty nice drums, because Feyre feels like she might not be able to resist them. Like they pull, and then she would even follow them if it was not for Tamlin, who is, you know, shirtless, because of course he is.
I mean, he's going to an orgy. Why would he wear a shirt?
But he is wearing his baldric with his weapons, which seems uncomfortable. Because, you know, I guess it's made of leather and then you wear it over your neck. I mean, some people like it, I guess.
He's going to a sacrifice. Of course he needs his weapon.
Yeah, I'm still like, is it fucking? Is it fighting? Is it both? We'll see. It is the Great Ride.
Sounds awesome.
Maybe it's the Great Ride. These billowing drums sounding down from the hill is a very cool imagination. I thought that was a cool vibe.
Well, but obviously she won't follow them, because who tells her not to? That's right, Tamlin, the warrior incarnate.
Yep.
Because he's so hot with his weapons and muscles and ooh.
Kissy, kissy.
Feyre, of course, is not allowed to go. Of course she isn't. So she won't go. There's no chance she will. Oopsie. She follows the drums.
Well, you know, Tamlin warns her, is like, I don't know, lock yourself in your room. But I feel like he could have handled that a lot better. Like, maybe don't be so fucking vague. Like, obviously there's some weird shit going on that is dangerous for Feyre. He's so vague. It sounds interesting. I mean, I would go there if I was Feyre. Maybe be like, Feyre, it's gonna be insanely fucking dangerous for you. And here's why. You know, like, why be so vague?
Maybe she can't know.
Yeah, I guess he doesn't want to frighten her. I mean, I usually do not like when he tells her to do something. But in this case, just do what he says. Just don't.
I'm not
I mean,
sure
the drums are magical.
Yes.
Yeah, of course, I know.
But I feel like Tamlin should have known that the drums are magical and maybe
Yeah.
have some
Yeah. Maybe he
precautions.
didn't know how a human would react. So he thought maybe she could resist or something. But yeah, he's very irresponsible here.
He could have said more, but he was too busy with running off mid-conversation.
Yeah.
Just-
He was late. I have to go fuck some people. Oh. Yeah, but of course she does follow him. She does follow the drums. And obviously there was some magic involved. She was not able to resist it. But she doesn't stay at the outer rims to like listen in and take a look. No, she goes immediately right into the middle of it all. She even thinks about speaking to someone. And she's like, oh, they're gonna find out I'm human. But I want to know what's going on here. Obviously, you're not too entranced to think about these things. But you still go right in the middle.
That's
Wow.
just, you know, how this enchantment works. You can think, but you can't act.
Sure.
But apart from that, you know, I really liked that next part. It kind of just felt psychedelic. Like they are burning acid and she's tripping balls.
Yeah.
Because it's described like she's, you know, meandering through these hooded figures, and whenever she like tries to look at one of them, the face and features get blurry and she can't really grasp them. It was pretty cool.
I mean, Tamlin mentioned that magic is like getting stronger because they celebrate. Maybe the amount of magic just being in the air is something affecting her. Maybe they have like magic kind of flickering off them, and this magic flickering off them kind of makes her not being able to really focus on them. It just felt really cool.
Yeah.
Very whimsical. And for the first time, maybe it made Prithian really interesting.
Yeah.
Because it felt like Prithian is just royalty with pointy ears.
Yeah.
You know, before that, also Prithian just felt empty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like there are 3 people in Prithian.
Yeah.
But now
Hundreds of them.
there's more.
And they all
Yeah.
wear masks. So
They do?
The High Fae wear masks. So
Yeah.
it means they are from Springcourt. Or at least they went to Tamlin's party when the blighted.
But as no one could have foreseen, Feyre is found out and captured by 3 fairies.
That scene was very bad.
Do you mean badly written?
No.
Or the contents were bad?
The contents were bad.
Yeah. Quite
It just-
horrible.
I think in contrast to like this whimsical Prithian thing we had like half a page ago, it felt just very realistic. Like in my head, this wasn't inside of a forest in a magical land. It just felt like outside of a bar in like every normal city we have, like where 3 drunk dudes come up to some lonely woman and are just very predatory towards
Yeah.
her. And that just felt like off. Of course it felt off because they were evil, but it kind of was a stark contrast to just whimsical thingy that was happening before.
But then she is saved by the most beautiful man she has ever seen, with the deepest sensual male voice she has ever heard.
The way this person comes up by being like, oh, there you are, I've been looking for you all over the place. This is like the oldest trick in history to get people away from someone when you see they are struggling. And immediately I thought it was a woman because it just felt like some other like female person would come up and help her. And then it said, a deep male voice said, and I was like, oh. Because we haven't met any high
That's
fae
true.
women yet.
Yeah, that's true.
And also, I think what happens is just a pretty common trope, right? I feel like I've seen it a lot in media that, you know, the female character is about to be assaulted in a society that kind of accepts that because, you know, none of the other fae, like, even
Cared.
look at this and it's just accepted there. But then there's one great guy who does not like that this is accepted in the society, and that's what makes him the greatest hero of all because he's not a fucking abusive asshole.
And of course, they respect him, the man,
Yeah.
being like, oh, go
Yeah.
fuck off and not her.
Yeah, they take orders from him.
And guys,
Yes.
if this is not Rice Sand,
Yes, he has to be.
I'm gonna scream. I'm gonna scream on this podcast.
I wrote down in bold letters in my book, Rysand!
I wrote down in all caps, is it dry fucking sand?
Does he wear a mask?
It doesn't say.
We don't know
Because-
anything about him,
Because
what he
this
looks like.
last sentence is the cliffhanger. The most beautiful man I've ever seen. There was like, I want to see him too.
I already like him more than Tamlin.
Well, that's not hard.
We don't know what he looks like, but he's the most beautiful man she has ever seen.
I mean,
so
it's-
he must look better than Tamlin.
I like that it doesn't begin with violence in this case, because he could have just, I don't know, stabbed them probably.
Yeah.
He for sure is a great warrior. But he walks up there and is like, oh, my old friend, huh? She belongs to me. Thank you for finding her for me. He doesn't even like tell them, oh, get the fuck off. He's like, oh, thank you. You found her for me. That's so nice. Now you can scurry away.
He's nifty.
He has high charisma stats.
Yes. He just feels, much more charismatic than Tamlin already.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's cool.
maybe that's just Lucian, and maybe, you know, the light is good, and that's what makes him so beautiful.
That would be so funny.
She's lying in the grass. She's like, oh my fucking God, he's so attractive. Why didn't I see that?
Fox? No way. I did not see it.
I would be so disappointed.
I don't think that's
I mean, I've read this shit a month ago, and for a month I was like, is this Rice Sand? I want to record, I want to go on reading.
Yes.
And if this is just Lucian,
I mean, but then she would say Lucian is the most beautiful man she ever
That's
saw.
true.
And that's
it
also
would
good.
be a silver lining.
But it has to be Rysand.
It has to be. I mean, of course, because, you know, it's Rice Sand.
That's the funny thing. Like when, for example, TV series want to introduce a character that is maybe very powerful, then before they show up, they let characters talk about them and say like, "Boah, he's so powerful, you can't imagine, blah, 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 blah," and all of this. And I mean, Rysand wasn't mentioned once in this
No.
book so far. We only know this name because the internet talks about this name.
Well,
so
I
we-
don't. I know this name because you, Lea, in episode 0 said there's a guy with a funny name and there's a playlist called Sitting on Rice Sand's Lap.
Yeah.
And from this point on, I saw him everywhere. Everywhere I go, I was like, are you
The funny
Rice
thing
Sand?
is that, well, you know that I know Rysand. It would be so funny if Rysand was not from this universe.
Yeah.
If it was just from any other book Sarah J. Maas has written. And you're like, oh my God, that must be him.
I mean, maybe it is someone completely different.
But I'm very positive it's someone new. I feel like we're at a
Yeah.
stage where we need some new characters.
Oh, maybe it's Isaac coming to save her.
Never. But I have a prediction.
Here we go.
I say he will take her away from here. And he will bring her to either his or maybe her court. And I think Tamlin will try everything to save her and go after her and such.
You know, we're at a point where it really feels like the story is gonna shift now. But I've also been saying that for the last 10 chapters.
You know, it would be so funny if he is just a nameless person and Feyre is just very high. She's like, oh my God, he's so pretty. And then he brings her to Tamlin.
That's the thing.
And then he leaves and she's like, oh my God, Tamlin, I saw the most amazing. Oh my God, you're the most amazing man as well.
And then Tamlin kills him because he's jealous.
Oh no.
Rysand. We're on to you, Rysand.
Raison.
Rysand. I'm so positive. I'm willing to bet. If this
How
is,
much do you want to... I
if
don't want to
this
bet
is-
against you, actually, but how much would you be willing to bet?
What would you want me to do
If it's not
Rysand?
Rysand, you have to write a little song about whoever
I
it
wanted
is
to say
instead.
the same thing. If it's not Rysand, you have to write a song about what Rysand is doing.
Oh,
Like,
you know
You
what?
have to write like a Bart song about Rysand.
That's actually fun and not a punishment. I say if it's not Rysand, you have to write a song about Tamlin.
I
And
hope
if it
it's
is Rysand, you are allowed to write a song about Rysand.
And then you can perform it.
Live on Getting Fae'd.
Yes.
Yay!
Let's
Yes.
shake hands on that.
He just shook his hands with us.
Hands were shaken.
Agreements
Yes.
were made.
The treaty is signed.
Let's find out. If you want to listen how this bet goes, you better stay on listening to Getting Fae'd.
You stay on listening. Is that how people talk?
Yes!
Now it is.
And if you like what you hear, leave a 5-star review.
Please send us your poems you write about Tamlin. The love ones or the hate ones, we don't care. DM us on @GettingFadePod on
And
Insta.
recommend us to
Rysand.
whomever might like this. And if you want to share some highlights with them, you can refer them to our Instagram account @GettingFadePod or our TikTok account.
At Getting Fae'd Pod.
Yes.
Yeah, like if someone knows Rysand, please tell him to listen to this. Rysand, I love you.
It's just some dude.
He's perfect, okay?
Well,
Rysand.
we are coming to you.
No, you're coming to us.
Hopefully in 2 weeks when we're
Getting Fae'd!